Bonjour. Welcome to KJ and Tony Love France. How many more days?
Not counting days anymore, we're counting hours. One more night's sleep.
Which is why I used a word that we're going to be using quite frequently over the next several weeks. Bonjour. And I don't know, I always feel like I'm saying it wrong. Bonjour.
Gotta keep practicing, that's why we gotta be there.
Yes. So anyone that wants to advise me on correct us, which you all are so good at anyway, even without us asking you. But I am asking. So I usually pronounce it, people will emphasize the R. They'll say bonjour, right? Bonjour. But I think that's a very American way of saying it, right?
I agree. I think
bonjour.
It is.
So when I've listened to the word on like Google Translate and through studying at times when we have actually taken French lessons, it sounds to me like bonjour,
especially
like you are.
In real life using it the way the French people use it with us.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's bonjour. Anyway, today we are sharing with you, before we leave for Nice tomorrow, the final video from our trip to Paris back in October, November. We decided, based upon the recommendation of one of our viewers, to go and check out the opera at the Versailles Palace. So it's called the Opera Royale, and we selected a performance based upon when we were going to be there, when it would be convenient. And so it wasn't really an opera, it was a performance, more like a play. They didn't sing, right? That I remember.
No, there was no singing.
There was no singing. So the opera that we went to go see is called Le Ver. I think that's how you say it, right? Le Ver, which means the miser. And we'll tell you more about our experience. I will share one thing before we get started. Maybe you want to share one thing too before we get started.
I have one thing to share.
And that is, I just want to warn you that in the beginning, the footage is a little shaky because I made the huge mistake. I'll make this one suggestion, and you're probably going to say, if you're familiar with the area, why would you do that? I wore high heels.
I did not.
To the Versailles Palace, and you have to get to the opera, it's in the Versailles Palace. So you have to walk, if you're familiar with going to the Versailles Palace. There's cobblestones like a mile.
It's not really a mile. It's
not
maybe
really.
A quarter of a mile.
It felt like a mile in high heels. And so I'm trying to film as I'm walking on cobblestones in high heels. So it's a little bit shaky in the beginning.
My share is more practical. Well, that's pretty practical. But my share is a different kind of practical. Mine is, if you don't speak French and you're going to try to go to an opera or any kind of performance in France, when we went to the first one at Palais Garnier, there was above the stage translations of everything that was being said. At this one, there was not. And so following it was extremely difficult, and it was pretty long, and so it really took away, for me, almost all the enjoyment of being there. So you might, I don't know if that's true of all performances at the Versailles Palace, but at this one there was no translation, so it took a toll. I mean, it was exhausting to be there for me.
Not for me.
Okay.
But it was, we'll talk more about that after we share the footage. Another thing to keep in mind is that there's not a lot of footage. They were, like most places, very strict about filming during the performance, and I really wanted to honor that and not take any footage. So I do have footage of inside before the performance starts, which hopefully you'll find interesting, and we'll share with you a little bit more about our experience and what we thought after. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Cobblestones and high heels are not a good match.
Anything you want to do here?
Going through here. Ready for the opera?
I'm ready.
Okay. Uneven. Probably should have worn boots though. Boots would have been a better choice. Okay. Would like to film over here before we go in.
Where the palace is the background.
I'm sorry, what?
Where the palace is the background.
Yeah.
So they're shipping if you're taking the flatter ones.
I was thinking that. We've been down this corridor. Yes.
Yeah, I think we have. You're right.
We can get anything. We don't have to get champagne, but we get it over here. Having a hard time walking. We are going on to the first floor.
14, right?
I think so. Bonsoir. Palais Garnier.
What's it called, the theater?
Opera Royale.
We hope you enjoyed that. I can tell you, and you probably saw this from the intro, I really did not. And there was another reason besides the fact that I couldn't understand it. And please, I understand that I should learn French. I get it. I completely get it. But when we went to Palais Garnier, it was such a nice surprise to have it translated. But that was one of the issues. The other is, in this particular theater, you are packed in like sardines. And I didn't have this problem, but I thought of it. If you have to go to the bathroom, you can't. I mean, you just can't, because you're in a row. Like we were in a row, there was probably 16 people between us and the aisle, and those people would have to stand up. There's not enough leg room for them to just turn their bodies. So you're packed in like sardines. So if you go there, use the restroom before you go in.
And I noticed, because I was watching, because I was thinking about it about halfway through, there wasn't an intermission of any kind. So I was watching, not one single person got up and went to the restroom, which I found pretty remarkable. So I guess unless you were on, there are like top tier, and you could probably leave easily and not, have people see you and disrupt the performance. So that's probably the place where you want to book your seat, if that would maybe be an issue. But that was surprising. And the fact that we didn't understand a word of, well, we understood some of it, and you could follow, like you knew what was happening
Generally,
in the
yes.
performance generally. I just found it fascinating. I really loved it. Tony, not so much. The only thing I didn't love was walking in the high heels and being to the point at the end of the evening where I was literally in
You
tears.
should have been there for that one.
As we were walking back over the cobblestones, and it was a chilly night. I didn't have any like socks, or like even if I took my shoes off, my high heels off, it would have been painful because it was cold and I would have been in bare feet. So that was not fun, but otherwise I really enjoyed it. And I think that it makes sense that at the Versailles Palace, at the Opera Royale, that it wouldn't be translated, because when we were living there we lived in Versailles for a few months, it was a lot less common to find people who spoke English.
Sure.
A lot less common. I mean, even to go and find a restaurant where people spoke English was few and far between.
I remember getting my hair cut there, and they had to get somebody that spoke English for me to tell the hairdresser what I wanted.
Yeah. So very different experience than Paris.
By the way, we loved Versailles anyway, but
Yeah. But this experience was not the best.
but we did it. It was a nice opportunity to get dressed up and go do something unique, and we did it.
Yeah. So overall, I think regardless, it's a good experience, because any experience where you can learn and you can learn more about the culture and what to expect, and that we can share with you if you were interested in going and checking out the Opera Royale, that if you speak or understand French pretty well, then sure, you might really enjoy it.
Sure.
So that's it for today's video. We need to get busy here
Get
and
packing.
finish packing so that we can catch our flight tomorrow to Nice, and we will be sharing that with you. So we hope you join us again next time when we will be sharing with you footage from Nice.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.